Have you ever wondered why one person becomes impossible to replace while another, despite working just as hard, is forgotten the moment they leave? Is it talent, intelligence, luck? Not always. More often, it's because they understand something most people never do. Value creates influence, and influence creates opportunity. The world doesn't reward effort alone, it rewards people who solve problems, earn trust, think strategically, and stay calm under pressure. That's why today's episode may be one of the most important in this entire series. We're uncovering laws 11 through 15 of the 48 laws of power, 5 principles that reveal how truly influential people become valuable, communicate wisely, observe carefully, and overcome life's biggest obstacles. These laws aren't about manipulating people or seeking control. They're about mastering yourself first, understanding human behavior, and making decisions that separate leaders from followers. Before we begin, answer this question honestly. If you disappeared for the next 30 days, what would people remember you for? Your excuses or your value? Think carefully, because your answer reveals more about your future than your current situation. Stay until the end, because the final law could completely change how you deal with fear, unfinished problems, and the biggest enemy you'll ever face, your own limitations. Let me ask you something. Why do some people always seem secure, respected, and impossible to replace, while others can be replaced almost overnight? The difference is rarely luck. It's value. The 11th law of power says, learn to keep people dependent on you. But the real lesson isn't about making people weak. It's about making yourself exceptionally useful. Become the person who solves problems others avoid. Develop skills that are rare. Build a reputation for reliability, discipline, and excellence. When people know they can depend on you, your influence naturally grows. Think about the most respected leaders, professionals, or creators. They aren't valuable because they demand attention. They're valuable because they consistently deliver results. Now ask yourself, what unique ability do you have that people would genuinely miss if it disappeared tomorrow? If that question makes you uncomfortable, that's a sign there's room to grow. Stop competing to be noticed and start competing to be indispensable. Read more, learn more, practice more, improve every day. Because when your knowledge, character, and work ethic become difficult to replace, opportunities begin searching for you instead of the other way around. And the next law will reveal how one sincere act of honesty can build more trust than 100 perfectly crafted speeches. Let me ask you a question. Who do you trust more? The person who always sounds perfect, or the one whose actions consistently prove their character? Most people spend their lives trying to look flawless, believing perfection earns respect. But human nature works differently. We trust people who feel genuine. That's why the 12th law of power says, they earned it through consistency, humility, and actions that matched their promises. Now ask yourself honestly, when people think of your name, do they remember your words or your character? That answer reveals where true influence comes from. Reputation isn't built in one conversation. It's built through hundreds of small decisions that prove who you are. Speak with honesty, act with integrity, and let generosity reflect strength rather than weakness. Use selective honesty and generosity to disarm your opponent. The deeper lesson isn't about deception. It's about understanding that sincere honesty, used with wisdom, builds credibility faster than endless persuasion. A thoughtful act of generosity, or an honest admission at the right moment, can lower suspicion, create connection, and open doors that force never could. Think about the people who have earned your respect. They probably didn't convince you with clever words, because trust is one of the few things that becomes more valuable the longer you protect it. And in the next law, you'll discover why understanding what motivates people can completely transform the way you communicate, negotiate, and lead. Let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why two people ask for the exact same opportunity, yet only one gets a yes? It isn't always because they're more talented or more deserving. More often, it's because they understand one powerful truth. People are naturally drawn to ideas that align with their own goals and interests. That's the 13th law of power. When asking for help, appeal to people's interests, not their mercy. The deeper lesson isn't about manipulating others, it's about learning to see the world from their perspective. Great communicators don't simply explain what they want. They explain why their idea creates value for everyone involved. Before making a request, they ask themselves, what's in it for the other person? That single question changes everything. It transforms conversations into collaborations and requests into opportunities. Think about the most successful leaders, entrepreneurs and negotiators. They don't rely on sympathy alone. They inspire action by connecting their vision with the interests of others. Now ask yourself honestly, when you speak, are you focused only on your own needs, or do you truly understand what matters to the person in front of you? The answer reveals the difference between simply talking and genuinely influencing. The people who make the greatest impact aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who understand people the best. And in the next law, you'll discover why the strongest advantage in any room often belongs to the person who observes quietly while everyone else is busy talking. Let me ask you one question. What if the biggest advantage in any conversation isn't speaking, but noticing what everyone else misses? Most people enter a room focused on being heard. They interrupt, explain, and try to impress. But while they're busy talking, they're missing the information that could completely change the outcome. That's why the 14th law of power says, pose as a friend, work as a spy. The deeper lesson isn't about becoming deceptive, it's about becoming an exceptional observer. Every person reveals something through their actions, habits, emotions, and decisions. Their words may hide the truth, but their behavior rarely does. Because it allows you to act with clarity instead of emotion. The more carefully you observe, the fewer mistakes you'll make. Remember, people often tell you exactly who they are, not with their words, but with their repeated actions. Learn to see those patterns, and you'll begin making decisions with confidence instead of assumptions. And the next law may be the most misunderstood of all, because it teaches that the greatest enemy you'll ever have isn't always another person. More often, it's because they understand one powerful truth. People are naturally drawn to ideas that align with their own goals and interests. That's the 13th law of power. When asking for help, appeal to people's interests, not their mercy. The deeper lesson isn't about manipulating others, it's about learning to see the world from their perspective. Great communicators don't simply explain what they want. They explain why their idea creates value for everyone involved. It can be the weakness you refuse to confront within yourself. Before you judge the title of this law, I want you to answer one question. How many times has the same problem returned to your life because you never truly dealt with it? Maybe it was procrastination. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was a bad habit you promised to quit tomorrow. It disappeared for a while, then came back even stronger. That's the deeper meaning behind the 15th law of power. Crush your enemy totally. This isn't about harming other people or seeking revenge. It's about refusing to leave your biggest obstacles unfinished. Every problem you ignore quietly grows in the background until one day it controls your decisions, steals your confidence, and limits your potential. Real power comes from confronting challenges at their source instead of avoiding them. Ask yourself honestly, what is the one weakness you've been negotiating with instead of defeating? Is it laziness, fear of failure, constant distraction, the habit of making excuses? Whatever it is, it won't disappear simply because you hope it will. It disappears only when you decide that enough is enough. The strongest people aren't those who never face difficult battles, they're the ones who refuse to run from them. Face the truth, make the hard decision, Finish what you've started, because every time you overcome your own weakness, you become a little more disciplined, a little more confident, and a little more powerful. And in the next section, I'll reveal the one hidden lesson that connects all 5 of today's laws. A lesson that most people never notice, yet it can completely change the way you think, act, and lead for the rest of your life. If you've been paying attention, you've probably realized something surprising. These 5 laws aren't really about gaining power over other people. They're about gaining power over yourself. Think about it. Law 11 teaches you to become indispensable. Law 12 teaches you to build trust through character. Law 13 teaches you to understand what motivates others. Law 14 teaches you to observe before reacting. Law 15 teaches you to eliminate the habits and fears that keep holding you back. At first, they seem like separate lessons, but they're all connected by one powerful principle. The stronger your character becomes, the less you need to force your influence. Most people chase status before they develop substance. They want respect before earning it. They want results before becoming disciplined enough to deserve them. But life doesn't work that way. Your habits create your character. Your character shapes your reputation, and your reputation determines the opportunities that come into your life. So here's the question I want you to think about. If nobody applauded your progress for the next year, would you still keep improving every single day? That's the difference between chasing attention and building greatness. Because real power isn't something people give you. Knowledge has no power until it changes the way you live. You can watch every episode in this series, highlight every lesson, and even memorize all 48 laws of power. But if your habits remain the same, your future will remain the same too. That's why I want to challenge you today. Don't try to master all 5 laws at once. Master just one. If you want to become irreplaceable, live by Law 11. If you need stronger relationships, practice Law 12. If communication is holding you back, apply Law 13. If you've been making poor judgments about people, train yourself to observe through Law 14. And if one habit has been stealing your future for years, face it with Law 15 and refuse to let it control another day of your life. Small actions repeated every day become extraordinary results over time. Success isn't built in a single moment. It's built in thousands of quiet decisions that nobody sees. So let me ask you one final question before we continue. Which of these 5 laws would have changed your life if you had learned it 5 years ago? Think about your answer, because it might reveal exactly what you need to start working on today. And in a moment, I'll show you why the next 5 laws become even more powerful when combined with everything you've learned so far. Before you click away, I want you to pause for just a moment and answer one question honestly. Who are you becoming through your daily choices? Not who you hope to become someday, but the person your habits are quietly creating right now. That's the real message behind today's 5 laws. They aren't about manipulation, they're about transformation. Every day you choose discipline over excuses, you become more valuable. Every day you choose observation over impulsive reactions, you become wiser. Every day you choose observation over impulsive reactions, you become wiser. Every day you choose courage over fear, you become stronger. Most people spend years searching for secret strategies while ignoring the simple habits that shape extraordinary lives. They wait for motivation before taking action, but successful people understand that action creates motivation, not the other way around. So ask yourself this: if your future was built only from the decisions you made today, that's a difficult question, but it's also an honest one. Because your future isn't created by luck. It's created by what you repeatedly do when nobody is watching. Master your habits, protect your character, and your influence will grow naturally. The greatest victory you'll ever achieve isn't over another person. It's over the weaker version of yourself that keeps asking you to settle for less. If you've made it this far, you're already doing what most people will not. In the next episode, we'll uncover laws 16 through 20. Subscribe, turn on notifications, share this video with someone who's serious about mastering the 48 laws of power, and comment your law number below. I'll see you in episode 4, laws 16 through 20, where the lessons become even deeper, more practical, and more powerful. You've chosen to invest in your mind instead of scrolling past another distraction. Now I have one challenge for you. Which law hit you the hardest today? Was it law 11, 12, 13, 14, or 15? Don't just think about it. Comment the law number below and tell me why. I read every comment, and your answer might help someone else see a lesson they completely missed. If this video changed the way you think about psychology, influence, and self-discipline, subscribe now because we're only getting started.